7 signs you're dealing with a truly evil person. Shi Heng wisdom. There are people who walk through life leaving quiet destruction behind them, wearing the mask of kindness while carrying the heart of a predator. Ancient Shaolin teachings have long warned that recognizing true evil requires more than watching what a person says, it requires watching the patterns beneath their words. Today we explore 7 signs that reveal a truly evil person before they can do lasting damage to your life. Before we begin, subscribe to this channel so this wisdom reaches you the moment it is needed most. Let us begin the first sign. Sign 1. They feel no guilt, only inconvenience. The first and most telling sign of a truly evil person is the complete absence of genuine guilt, replaced instead by irritation at being caught or exposed. Shaolin teaching has long distinguished between 2 very different reactions to wrongdoing. A person of conscience, upon realizing they have caused harm, feels a heaviness in the chest, a genuine desire to repair the damage even when no one is watching. A truly evil person feels nothing of the sort. Their only discomfort arises from the inconvenience of consequences, the annoyance of having to manage how others now perceive them. Watch closely how a person responds when confronted with proof of their wrongdoing. A person with conscience will often apologize before being asked, driven by internal discomfort rather than external pressure. A truly evil person will instead grow defensive, minimize the harm caused, or redirect blame entirely onto the person they hurt, treating the confrontation itself as the true offense rather than their original action. This is because their moral compass was never rooted in empathy for others, but in calculation of personal risk. Once you recognize this pattern, you will notice it does not appear occasionally, but consistently across every situation where their actions cause pain to those around them, revealing a stable trait rather than a temporary lapse in judgment. Sign 2. Their kindness always comes with a hidden invoice. The second sign involves the strange nature of a truly evil person's generosity, which upon close inspection is never truly generous at all. Ordinary kindness expects nothing in return, offered freely because it feels right to help another person. A truly evil person's kindness, however, always operates as a hidden transaction, a deposit made specifically to be withdrawn later with interest. They remember every favor extended, every gift given, filing it away as leverage to be used the moment they need something from you. This becomes obvious when you attempt to decline a request from such a person. Suddenly, every kindness they have ever shown resurfaces as a weapon, a reminder of your supposed debt to them, delivered with a tone of wounded entitlement rather than simple disappointment. Genuinely kind people, when refused, may feel disappointed but rarely feel betrayed, because they never expected repayment in the first place. Truly evil people react to refusal as though a contract has been violated, because in their mind, that is precisely what occurred. Shaolin wisdom teaches that true generosity flows without conditions, and any kindness that arrives with invisible strings attached is not kindness at all, but strategy disguised in gentler clothing. Sign 3. They are different people depending on who is watching. The third sign reveals itself only through patient, careful observation over time. A truly evil person maintains a carefully constructed public persona, charming, generous, and likable in front of those whose opinion matters to their reputation, while treating those with less power or social value with startling cruelty when they believe no one important is watching. This inconsistency between public performance and private behavior is one of the clearest signals of a hollow moral character. Pay close attention to how a person treats waiters, servants, employees, or anyone in a position with less power than themselves. A person of genuine character remains consistent regardless of audience, treating everyone with basic respect whether or not doing so benefits their reputation. A truly evil person reserves their charm exclusively for those who can advance their interests, while dropping all pretense of kindness the moment they believe consequences are unlikely. Shaolin teaching describes this as wearing multiple faces, each one calibrated precisely to extract maximum benefit from whoever stands before them. Should you ever witness this stark contradiction between someone's public warmth and private cruelty, consider it one of the most reliable warnings available, for character revealed in private moments is always more honest than character performed for an audience. If this wisdom is helping you recognize patterns in your own life, please subscribe to this channel now, because there are still 4 more signs waiting to be revealed. Sign 4. They twist every story until they become the victim. The fourth sign involves a truly evil person's remarkable ability to reframe every conflict, no matter how clearly they caused it, into a narrative where they themselves emerge as the wrong party. This pattern, sometimes called victim playing, allows them to avoid accountability entirely while simultaneously gathering sympathy and support from those unaware of the full situation. Over time, this skill becomes so refined that even the person being genuinely harmed begins doubting their own perception of events. Notice how conversations with such a person almost never end with them acknowledging fault, regardless of overwhelming evidence against them. Instead, through subtle reframing, exaggeration, and selective omission of key details, they transform themselves from the aggressor into the misunderstood victim of your supposedly unreasonable reaction. This tactic is particularly dangerous because it isolates their true victims from potential support, since outside observers, hearing only the manipulated version of events, often side with the manipulator rather than the person actually harmed. Shaolin wisdom warns that truth requires no elaborate reframing to survive scrutiny, while lies require constant narrative maintenance to remain believable. When you notice someone consistently unable to simply admit fault without immediately pivoting to their own victimhood, you are witnessing a mind far more concerned with appearing innocent than actually behaving with integrity. Sign 5. They test your boundaries slowly, then all at once. The fifth sign requires recognizing a pattern that unfolds gradually over weeks or months rather than revealing itself in a single dramatic moment. A truly evil person rarely announces their intentions to control or exploit you directly, for such honesty would trigger immediate resistance. Instead, they test small boundaries first, minor requests, small favors, tiny compromises, carefully measuring your reaction before escalating further should you fail to object. This is why so many people find themselves trapped in deeply harmful relationships or partnerships without recognizing the exact moment things went wrong, because there was no single moment, only a slow accumulation of small violations that gradually normalized increasingly severe behavior. Shaolin teaching compares this process to a bird being trained to accept a cage one bar at a time, never noticing captivity until every bar is finally in place. If you notice someone consistently pushing slightly beyond agreed boundaries, watching closely for your reaction rather than genuinely respecting your stated limits, consider this a critical early warning. Truly evil people rely on this gradual erosion precisely because sudden, obvious violations would end the relationship before their influence could take hold, so they patiently condition their targets instead, one small transgression at a time. Subscribe to this channel if you want more wisdom that helps you protect your peace from people exactly like this, because 2 more critical signs remain ahead. Sign 6. They feel threatened by your growth and happiness. The 6th sign emerges most clearly during moments that should naturally invite celebration, such as your promotions, achievements, new relationships, or personal growth. A genuinely caring person feels authentic joy witnessing someone they claim to love flourish and succeed. A truly evil person, by stark contrast, experiences your growth as a quiet threat, since your increasing independence, confidence, or success reduces the control they have carefully cultivated over you. Watch closely for subtle sabotage disguised as concern whenever you announce good news. This might appear as backhanded compliments that diminish your achievement, sudden unexplained criticism arriving precisely when your confidence is highest, or unexpected personal crises they manufacture that conveniently demand your attention right when you should be celebrating your own success. Shaolin wisdom teaches that genuine love wants to see the beloved grow even beyond the relationship itself, celebrating their flourishing as its own reward. A truly evil person, however, views your growth as a resource being redirected away from serving their needs, and will unconsciously or deliberately work to keep you small, dependent, and easier to control. If you notice a consistent pattern of subtle discouragement whenever you attempt to grow, pursue new opportunities, or celebrate genuine achievements, recognize this discomfort in them as a warning sign far more revealing than anything they might say directly. Sign 7. They show cruelty to those who cannot fight back. The 7th and perhaps most revealing sign involves observing how a person treats those who are entirely powerless to retaliate against them, whether animals, children, elderly individuals, or those in significantly weaker social or economic positions. Shaolin teaching has long held that true character reveals itself most honestly not in how we treat our equals or superiors, but in how we treat those who could never hold us accountable for our cruelty. A person who mistreats a helpless animal, speaks cruelly to a struggling child, or humiliates someone with far less power than themselves is revealing something essential about their character that no amount of charm toward influential people can disguise. This cruelty toward the powerless often goes unnoticed by society precisely because their victims lack the voice or standing to expose it publicly, allowing such individuals to maintain polished reputations while quietly harming those least able to defend themselves. Shaolin wisdom insists that the truest measure of a soul lies in moments when no reward or punishment awaits their behavior, when kindness or cruelty flows purely from internal character rather than external incentive. Should you ever witness someone treating a powerless being with casual cruelty, do not dismiss it as an isolated incident, but recognize it as perhaps the clearest window available into their true, unguarded nature. This is one of the most important lessons in this entire story, so if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so now before we continue toward the final wisdom. Understanding why evil often wears a convincing mask. Having explored these 7 signs, it becomes important to understand why truly evil people are often so difficult to identify despite these consistent patterns existing beneath the surface. Shaolin teaching explains that evil rarely announces itself through obvious villainy, for such transparency would immediately trigger defense and rejection from those around them. Instead, evil survives and spreads precisely because it learns to mimic virtue convincingly enough to disarm suspicion until real damage has already occurred. This is why the signs discussed throughout this story require patient observation over time rather than snap judgment based on a single interaction. A truly evil person can be charming during a first meeting, generous during an early friendship, and supportive during a honeymoon phase of any relationship, precisely because these initial performances serve as the foundation of trust they will later exploit. The mask only begins slipping once genuine investment, dependency, or vulnerability has been established on your part, at which point the patterns described throughout this story typically begin emerging with increasing frequency and severity. Shaolin wisdom teaches patience in judgment, not naive trust, but the discipline to watch consistently over time rather than being swept away entirely by an impressive first impression that later behavior fails to support. Protecting yourself without becoming bitter. Recognizing these 7 signs serves little purpose if the knowledge only breeds paranoia and isolation rather than wise discernment. Shaolin teaching emphasizes that the goal of this wisdom is not to view every person you encounter with suspicion, but to develop the clarity necessary to recognize genuine danger when it does appear, while remaining open to the far greater number of people who possess authentic goodness and character. The path forward involves observing patterns rather than isolated incidents, since even genuinely good people occasionally have difficult moments that do not reflect their true character. True concern arises only when the 7 signs discussed throughout this story appear consistently and repeatedly across multiple situations and relationships, forming a stable pattern rather than an isolated exception. Once such a pattern becomes undeniable, Shaolin wisdom counsels swift and calm boundary setting, removing yourself gradually and safely from the influence of such individuals without seeking dramatic confrontation or revenge, which often only provides them additional opportunities for manipulation. The goal is not to defeat evil through combat, but to simply deny it the access and vulnerability it requires to cause harm, walking your own path forward with clear eyes and a protected heart. The deeper lesson behind recognizing evil. Perhaps the most valuable lesson embedded within this entire exploration is not merely how to identify evil in others, but how this awareness invites deeper reflection on our own character as well. Shaolin teaching has always emphasized self-examination as the foundation of wisdom, encouraging students to look inward with the same clarity they apply when studying others. Ask yourself honestly whether any of these 7 signs have ever appeared, even briefly, within your own behavior during moments of weakness or self-interest. This is not an exercise in self-condemnation, but an invitation toward continuous growth, for even the most disciplined among us occasionally slip toward selfishness, defensiveness, or subtle manipulation when fear or insecurity takes hold. The difference between an evil person and a flawed but growing person lies not in the complete absence of these tendencies, but in the willingness to notice them, take responsibility, and consciously choose a better path forward. By studying evil not merely to protect ourselves from others, but to guard against its seeds within our own hearts, we transform this wisdom from simple defense into a genuine path toward becoming the kind of person whose consistency, generosity, and character require no elaborate performance to remain believable. Closing reflection. The 7 signs explored throughout this story, the absence of genuine guilt, transactional kindness, inconsistent character depending on audience, victim playing, gradual boundary testing, discomfort with your growth, and cruelty toward the powerless, together form a reliable framework for recognizing truly evil character before irreversible damage occurs. Shaolin wisdom reminds us that such recognition requires patience, observation over time, and the courage to trust consistent patterns over charming first impressions. Armed with this understanding, you become significantly harder to manipulate, exploit, or deceive, protecting not only your own peace but potentially the well-being of others who might otherwise fall victim to the same carefully constructed masks. If this story has given you new clarity about someone in your own life, please subscribe to this channel right now so you never miss the wisdom still to come. Share this video with someone who needs to see these signs clearly today. Leave a comment about which sign resonated with you most deeply, and join this growing community dedicated to walking through life with open eyes and a protected heart. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next story.